The headlines, the issues impacting you and your family. This week in Cincinnati on WCPO 9.
Welcome to This Week in Cincinnati. I'm Tanya O'Rourke. This is a big weekend in Cincinnati, especially for soccer fans. FC Cincinnati will have its first home opener in the new TQL Stadium Sunday. The path for the stadium in the West End has not been smooth. Residents in two buildings had to move. Some businesses had to move as well. Part of the final deal to build the stadium involved a community benefits agreement, which requires the team to hire people from the neighborhood, support youth soccer, and address the issue of affordable housing in the West End. But that history wasn't the focus 2 weekends ago, when the ribbon was cut for the opening of the stadium. The first official game on the pitch was played by young soccer players from the West End. That was the scene when I talked with Carl Leonard III and his wife Martha about their feelings on that day.
Joyful that it's finally here, and it's hard to believe it's taken 5 years and just the dreams come true. And
Go ahead. Sorry.
it makes it reality coming down here and standing here today.
I mean, for me, it's totally exceeded any and all of my expectations of what the stadium was going to be. After looking at the original designs and all the changes and things, it just totally exceeded all my expectations. And it was great to hear the MLS commissioner, Don Garber, tell me that he thought it was probably the best stadium in MLS, and no corners were cut, and he was pretty speechless when we took him through.
I think it's been exciting, and I loved what Pastor Nick said about people that are getting employment, that have been employed by FC Cincinnati, and all the growth that's going to happen in this neighborhood is pretty amazing. It's exciting.
I've been amazed at how many different parts of Cincinnati, groups of people in Cincinnati have all pitched in and made this happen. I think that's one reason why it's special, from the residents in the West End to Turner and Jostin, all those employees, to our partners, to our governor and our mayor. And that's how this city punches above its weight class. We work together and we do special things, and we surprise people.
You said you were emotional a lot this week. Why?
Well, the pandemic's been a very challenging time. It's very emotional, and my emotions are thankfulness. Thankfulness to God, thankfulness to my wife, thankfulness to our community. Our community has just gone above and beyond the call of duty. And amazing, it's been amazing, miraculous.
Okay, Mr. Leonard was emotional. What is that actually like? You're there, this is your guy, so.
Yeah. He's not a very emotional person, so for him to get emotional about the completion of the stadium is pretty special that he has, because it has been like birthing a child of 5 years. Birthing a child.
That's a long gestation period.
It's a long gestation period. Yeah.
So this is now permanent. You've talked a lot about family and legacy now. Then, what does it mean to you now that this is real?
It's off the charts, and I think the reason why the families originally got involved together to invest in something like this was to leave a legacy, to our community, to help continue the tremendous trajectory of professional soccer and MLS and that. So can't wait for the first game. I'll probably cry again, or I'll probably get emotional again at that time. But I love when you look at the audience and the supporter fans that we've had. There's lots of families, which I love. It's not, we have a lot of young supporters in their 20s and 30s, but lots of families, and even grandparents, who were probably Reds fans and Bengals fans or whatever. When their kids and grandchildren, start going to the soccer games, and they follow. So it's been a lot of fun.
We are hearing little kids playing on this field for the very first time, right this second. What does that feel like to hear that beautiful, joyful noise?
I think that's part of the legacy. that it's going to be our children, our grandchildren, and their children.
Your dad helped rescue the Reds at a time when this city needed it. Mm-hmm. You have started an entire major league sport in this city. What do you think he would think of what you all have done?
My dad would be, overwhelmingly proud, and he's always been supportive, over most things that his kids, wanted to invest in or start or be involved in from a charity standpoint. So my dad would be overwhelmingly supportive and excited and proud.
Sorry he's not here to enjoy it.
It takes big vision to see this. Big vision. Tell me why we shouldn't be surprised by that.
Carl's been an entrepreneur. From Cincinnati Hills. Hell, I'm going to get emotional to this. He sees things that other people don't see. He's got a mind for seeing things that aren't and what they can't be. I give him a lot of credit.
No, thank you. I've always had
why is this?
The emotion?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you want to be honest?
Yeah.
I felt like he'd lived in his father's shadow for so many years. And finally, at this point in his life, he's been able to show people that he has talent and ability also, and that it wasn't just handed down to him.
This wasn't a birthright. This is who you are?
It is. I'm, entrepreneurish. I'm a calculated risk taker, and love to start things and be involved in things, whether it's our things we've done in our business or, schools or churches that, Martha and I have been a part of and that. So I'm so appreciative of Martha, being behind me, supporting me through thick and thin, and there were some missed hours, with our kids and that, and Martha made up for it. And so.
Is she right though? Is this your moment to stand in the sun?
Well, it's certainly one of them.
Do you want to say anything to the fans?
Yeah, we have the best supporters and fans in the world. I couldn't help but cry when I saw 4,000 supporters piling through the streets, to our first MLS game. It made us unique, in the whole world. We saw things through media, through social media, and people they said they didn't believe it was real. That in Cincinnati, 4,000 people, could be marching to a soccer game and be that joyful and enthusiastic.
The Lindners and other investors spent $250 million on the stadium. So which parts of the stadium are Carl Lindner's favorite? He showed me during a tour of the stadium. That's next on This Week in Cincinnati. Welcome back to This Week in Cincinnati. I'm here at TQL Stadium to get a tour from the man who essentially footed the bill for the stadium, FC Cincinnati owner Carl Lindner III. Most buildings when they're built have a cornerstone, right? Mm-hmm. This is your cornerstone.
This is the equivalent of the cornerstone, yeah, in the stadium. So I think all of our Jeff and all the staff know that this was the most important thing to me, because I've been asking about it all during the construction of the stadium, and wanted to make sure we weren't forgetting the most important thing to me and to my wife Martha. It takes every party in the city, everybody kind of doing what they can do to cause something special to happen like this, and very thankful for my wife Martha. Without my wife Martha's support and patience, this would have never happened. So
I think without your whole your family, your life, you, there's no FC Cincinnati.
Well, Martha's the unsung hero in my family.
What do you like about it?
Oh, I love the great colors, of course, and I love that. Again, the community had something to do with, and the Bailey had something to do with what we were doing. Early on, we've had fan supporter kind of review groups on looking at things like our logo and different things like that, just to always try to get our customers' input in most of our decisions. So on this floor, these are some of the historical action shots that we became famous for. That was the first goal, first game. And this picture, it's a scissor kick, and that picture is actually in the MLS office.
Is it really?
It was there before we were an MLS team. Oh. So you can see the idea is he's kicking the ball.
So
now the ball's,
so follow it
so
along.
the ball's coming down, and guess where it ends? Wow. On the other end, so he's kicking the ball up.
It's fantastic.
Okay, so these are the kind of some of the contemporary portraits of some of the folks that are being honored kind of in our Legends Club. You can probably guess who some of them are. A lot of people have trouble with this one though. Annie Oakley.
Yeah, I was saying it's Annie Oakley, right?
Yeah. So Neil Armstrong, we got a youngster in there with Rose. We thought she deserves it. I got a president there, Junior, Ruth Lyons.
What did you think of your dance?
I liked it. I had to kind of pause at first or whatever, but the idea is to kind of do something a bit more contemporary, though honoring and that. The openness of the stadium on this main concourse, you can be doing things and still watch the game.
That's true. My seats are right up here. Yes, this is so, like, you're right. You have a view no matter what. So you pop out to get a pizza, you still see the game.
Yeah, you can kind of keep an eye on the game and not miss things. And
you won't be able to hear a thing because the Bailey will be rocking.
Yeah, but I think the Bailey's roughly twice as big as what it was before.
Oh, at least it has to be.
But
right?
we purposely wanted, aluminum. This section to be aluminum because we wanted them to be loud. And if one,
come on, Mr. Leonard, let's do it. Right?
Ready?
I mean, that's two of us. It's gonna be crazy in here.
Yeah, that's just two. So you can imagine there's not a bad seat in the house, and there's something here for everybody. That's what I love about it.
This is your place. I mean,
this is our place. This is our community's place, and this would have never happened, unless, as I mentioned before, our community all came together to make it happen, and it's miraculous.
I'm Tanya O'Rourke at TQL Stadium. This Week in Cincinnati is back in just a moment.
Welcome back. I'm Adrian Whitsett. For years, Hamilton County's infant mortality rate was tragically high. The numbers were especially grim for African American newborns. Changing that is the mission of Cradle Cincinnati. And this year, the organization reported that infant mortality in the county fell to a record low last year. That in the middle of a pandemic. To learn more about that good news and what still needs to be done, I spoke with Lauren Everett, the Senior Program Manager for the Cradle Cincinnati Learning Collaborative.
Lauren, you guys through the pandemic have really had a pretty wonderful story to tell when it comes to infant mortality in the Black community here in Cincinnati. What were you guys seeing?
Yeah, so, I first want to start by saying that this has definitely been an interesting year for us and for our families and for our community. And so we were definitely encouraged to see that in 2020, we had a record low infant mortality rate for the county. So last year in 2020, we saw 76 Black infants that died. And the 36 of those babies were Black babies. And that is the second year historical low for us. So that's a 42% decline since 2017. Historically, Black infants have been, twice as likely to die than any other racial group. And so this has definitely been a focus of us for our organization, as well as our partners, strategically aligned and focused on this. So it was definitely encouraging news to have the second year in a row to see that all-time low.
When you look into the past, what are some of the factors that were driving maybe a rise or even a plateau in infant mortality? And what were you guys doing to try and get it to decrease the last couple of years?
Yeah, so the main leading cause of infant mortality is extreme preterm birth. And so that is when a baby dies before their mother's second trimester. And there are a lot of different causes that lead to that. Some of the ones that we focus on are stress, smoking, spacing between pregnancies. And then in terms of Black infant mortality in particular, it's really the long lasting effects of racism and how that kind of plays a part in, the areas that we live, work, and play.
Is there a component of this, at least with the awareness for the moms, in being advocates for themselves when they're speaking to nurses or doctors? There have been reports for years and years and years about how sometimes when a Black woman goes into a doctor's office, her pain isn't necessarily being taken into account. And sometimes the doctors and nurses may just not believe it. Is there a part of this in there as well?
Yeah, so the work of Queen's Village, which is an initiative of Cradle Cincinnati that is really focused on power and advocacy, is bringing together Black women that are really passionate about this to share their experiences. And so that really shapes a lot of the work that we do and a lot of our programming and a lot of the work that we do with our partners.
Also, while there is an upside to what you saw in 2020 amid a pandemic where the infant mortality rate dropped for the second year in a row, you did have an uptick, unfortunately, in co-sleeping deaths. So we know every new parent, I'm one of them, has been told the best way for baby to sleep is on its back in the crib by itself. That's hard to do. Sometimes as a new parent, when baby's crying, things like that. So what's sort of the takeaway? What sort of things are you making more aware for new parents to make sure that this doesn't happen anymore?
Yeah. So like you said, despite the great things that we saw last year, we also saw an uptick in sleep-related infant deaths. It's the highest that it's been in the past decade. And like you said, that's typically due to an adult sleeping on the same sleep surface and then rolling over on the infant. And so what we have done recently is partnered with Hamilton County Jobs and Family Services to launch a new Safe Sleep campaign. We worked with a variety of partners. It was actually led by two moms that have helped us come up with messaging and images that really would resonate with new parents. We recognize that it is tough. It's not something easy to say, but not easy to do. But the messaging around that campaign is really that, we know that safe sleep is hard, but it's worth it. Our babies' lives are worth it.
And finally, Lauren, is there anything that you see? We're coming off a decline for 2 years, an uptick, unfortunately, last year in the sleeping deaths. What are you looking forward to, or what is the organization looking forward to for the rest of 2021?
Yeah, so I think, we had a lot of lessons learned through the years that we've been doing this. There has been some great improvement that we've seen as a result of, like I said, just having a strategic focus. And so I think that our goal is to continue to learn from those successes and figure out how we can spread that to other areas.
Yeah, the work's not done until it's as close to zero as possible, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, Lauren Everett, Senior Program Manager with Cradle Cincinnati. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that is This Week in Cincinnati for this weekend. Join us for breaking news, weather, and sports at 6 and 11 tonight on WCPO 9 News. Plus, we are always updating your headlines on WCPO.com and the WCPO 9 app.